Welcome to the BNI Knox podcast, helping members in the Knoxville, Tennessee region grow their business and make more money through the power of referrals. Now, here's your host, Curtis Johnston.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Knox. Now I screwed that up already. Golly, how long have I been doing this? The BNI Knox podcast. My name is Curtis Johnston, your host. Don't adjust your set. This is a much better looking Andy Brassfield. With me today is Susan Moser. How are you, Susan?
I'm fine. Curtis, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. I appreciate you joining us.
It's the red hair, right?
Yes, I'm just gonna fill the seat with redheads. That's my plan. So if you have red hair, please go to BNIKnox.com and click on I want to be on Curtis's podcast.
Bless his heart.
Man, we're like 2 minutes in. I already got the bless your heart. Briefly, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay. So my name is Susan Moser. I work for Gama Network Solutions. We're an IT company. I am a director consultant for BNI Knoxville, and I work with 4 chapters in that capacity, and I am the current VP of Rainmakers chapter.
Outstanding. Very good. So you're well-versed in the BNI way.
For about 25 years now.
Wow, very cool. Very cool. Well, then it's no secret why we're having you on today. We were talking about some value that we wanted to bring our listeners and viewers. And somebody pointed you out specifically and said that Susan has set up a really good visitor host methodology, the way you invite during the, both before, during, and after the meeting. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to have you on to kind of unpack it a little bit, see if you got any tips for us, for people who are still trying to up their visitor host game.
Okay. So the visitor host program is really about the growth of our chapters.
Okay.
And it really starts at the beginning of a Curtis Johnson actually inviting and registering a visitor.
Okay.
Because you as a member of a chapter, then the visitor host and the president gets notification, and we want to call. We want to use the power of 2 to influence a third.
Okay.
And if they are in my contact sphere, let's say I'm the president of your chapter, I see that you have invited Darren. Mm-hmm. I call and say, hey, Darren, I do IT. I'm very excited that Curtis has invited you.
Okay.
Now I've made that visitor feel at home before they ever walked in. And that's part of those soft closes.
Okay.
So then Darren comes.
All right, now hang on. I got to stop you first. Okay. So I invite someone. Let's say I invite Andy to the chapter.
Okay.
And I register Andy.
Yes.
Do I tell you to call Andy, or how do you know that Andy's coming?
Absolutely. Actually, that's what we set up with in our visitor host meetings we have monthly. Okay. We talk about the processes because I'm a process person. Okay. When you see a registered visitor, we have a visitor host team person or the coordinator to try to do a call and say, hey, we're excited to see you. The president can do that because visitor host is in a direct downline of a president of a chapter.
So the process actually starts when I'm inviting Andy and I register him online.
Correct.
That's the beginning of the process.
Correct.
And then your visitor host team, somebody contacts then Andy and says, hey, I see you. I see you're coming. Can't wait to meet you.
Absolutely.
All right. Take it from there.
Okay. So then Andy or Darren comes in as the visitor. And one of the things is in-person meetings, we would have a table. Everyone would be there early because you know your visitor is going to show up early. All of it's about the visitor experience. Okay. How do they feel? I do this little lot to leadership training. How does this person feel from the time they pull into the parking lot till they become a member, till they develop into leadership, and everything that goes along with that?
And what was that term again? Lot?
Lot. LOT.
Oh, as in parking lot.
Yes.
Not
lot
like
to
Abraham,
leadership.
Lot, and his sister Sarah.
No.
Okay.
No, that's
parking
biblical.
Lot.
This is BNI. So, lot to leadership. Okay, just so we're saying.
You are very different from Andy.
Well, thank God for that. Not that that's a terrible thing.
So, lot to leadership, which I love now that I understand it.
Okay.
So, lot to leadership.
So the visitor comes in. We're online now. So what we want to do is we want to have our meeting rooms open early. Visitors are going to come early. You want to get on the Zoom. You want to welcome them. Mm-hmm. As soon as you see them coming on, our visitor hosts, our membership at Rainmakers, we try to be on there by 11:15. We have our room open by 11. We start our meeting at 11:30.
Room opens at 11. Everybody's there by 11:15. The meeting doesn't start until 11:30.
Correct.
So if you're a visitor, we've said this in many circles, if you're visiting a meeting, when do you show up? Show up early.
They're going to show up early.
So if you invited somebody, be there early to meet them.
Absolutely.
If you haven't invited somebody, be there early to meet the other people that have been invited as visitors.
And so as we have this open networking online, you find that you can't go over into these little spots in your room as groups. So if you have a couple of people that are talking about a project, it doesn't give an open opportunity for other people to partake in that time.
True.
So what we have done, and we had to address this in Rainmakers, is like we want to just have general conversation, and we want to be looking for visitors popping on Zoom.
Okay.
Because at that point, and Ken Apple is really good at this, he's a follow-up caller and on our visitor host team. As soon as we see a visitor pop on, you'll hear him say, hey, Andy Brassfield just popped on. Hey, Andy, welcome. And now we're all paying attention to Andy. Again, little soft closes, making him feel like family, things like that. Then you run a really good agenda, and there's lots to do with that. And then we actually send them off into a closing room. Robert Smith is our visitor host coordinator. He goes out there with a couple of other people.
So right now, it's hard to stop you. I don't know if you're breathing or if you're just keep on talking.
I just keep on talking because this is a process in my head that I just and when you get down to that kind of process automatically.
You're just in it. You're in it.
That's why the closing is what it is.
In the beginning, we were talking about open networking. We're all on Zoom meetings currently.
Correct.
Are you using breakout rooms during open networking?
We've only tried that once.
Okay.
And I think we're going to do that again. We like that, actually. If you've not tried that, try that. Because with 40-some-odd people in our room, as Darren knows, it's hard. So we just recently tried breakout rooms. We liked it. We're going to try to do it again.
Nice. Very nice. Darren, are you in Rainmakers with Susan? Oh, thank you for your service. So
yes, thank you. That's all right.
So,
you'll have to edit here in a minute, Darren.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're back. Why do you sound so hoarse? Anyway, so you run a fantastic agenda, or you run the solid agenda,
right?
And then at the end of the agenda, used to be we'd pull people out and put them in a physical room. Now we're pulling people out and putting them into a breakout room.
Correct.
Okay, and then what happens there?
So that's where Robert Smith takes over. As a VP, I do not go over in that room, but we follow the closing process. And it just depends on what the feel and the personality is.
Right.
We've went in and said, hey, are you ready to be a rainmaker? And just say, what questions do you have?
Yes.
The Zoom makes it a little different because I think, as you know, in trying to close a contract, handing a piece of paper for a signature is a great way to close. We don't have that opportunity now.
Very true.
So now we're emailing the application out. But what I personally have found as a closer is to walk in and say, you know what, Andy, you ready to be a rainmaker? How'd you like that? And then shut up.
Right.
And let Andy talk.
Right.
And say, do you have any questions? Answer Andy's question. Because Andy is the man of the hour as a visitor.
Very true. And
Not
I've heard Robert
me.
say that. I've heard Robert say that he's got like a three-piece or a three-part way to do it. In fact, Robert, what is it that you say when you're closing visitors and you got like I'm putting him on the spot. You got like 3 different parts to closing the visitor. You're like, who's ready to go? Who's got questions? And who needs to think about it?
Yes.
So that's what you're doing, and you're doing that even on Zoom meetings, like during the breakout session. You're saying,
I think that's what they're covering.
Who's ready to be a rainmaker?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
who has questions?
Right.
So it's not let's go through the application. Well, we meet every week, and these are the do's and blah, 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 which, of course, if you're in sales, as you and I are, don't oversell. What questions do they have? Let your customer talk more than you talk.
Absolutely. They are your potential client as a visitor, and they want to feel important. You want to answer their questions, just like sitting down and talking to a potential client of your company, my company. What can I do to help you? What questions do you have? And all of that. And I think that they want to feel valuable. And we all, as networkers and salespeople, we have thoughts, we have comments, we have questions. So sometimes we have to shut up. It's not about us. It's about the visitor. Answer their questions. Give them their the paperwork, email the application, and then let them get back in to network with the people.
Yes.
Closing shouldn't be this long, drawn-out thing. Answer the questions, get them a little excited, get them back in the room where you've got members that hopefully are staying there talking, because we want them to be seen. We want them to find the value, especially on Zoom, which is a little harder platform.
Yes.
But let's make them feel important. The spotlight is on them, because our chapter meetings are about visitors, and we forget that along the way, as being who we are sometimes, but it's really about the visitors. So we want to close them, get them back in, and then people are like, hey, will you put your information in chat? I would love to have coffee with you.
Right.
Now I'm feeling really good. Andy's really liking it, because guess what? Now Andy's going to get to connect with someone he does not know that's going to say, tell me more about your business.
Right. It's very, very true.
Let that sit for a minute. Tell me more about your business.
It's powerful. It's good stuff. And they're not being held, quote unquote, captive in the closing room.
Absolutely.
This is not a timeshare presentation. We want to get them back into, not that there's anything wrong with that. We want to get people back into the main group.
Right.
Because that's why they're here. They're here to meet people.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So then the people who say, well, I need to think about it. Here are my questions, back and forth, et cetera. We come back into the room. We meet people. They're gone. What happens next?
So there is a follow-up process that BNI has. And the BNI process is a 3-touch. Now, lately we have asked people, how do they like to be contacted? Because there's a lot of texters in the world now. One of the main things is letting your visitors know you're going to get follow-up. Do you want to be called? Because, again, you're setting the expectation. Wouldn't you want to know that, especially if you're doing – we meet on Wednesday, so we're touching them on Thursday, Friday, and Monday. Right. So now if I say, Andy expects some follow-up over the next 3 days, by the way, which way do you like to be contacted? Right. Because – if you don't talk to the visitor, if you say, I left a message, is that really touching them?
They may not check their voicemail.
That's right. I don't. Right. You can't leave me a voicemail. So how do you want to communicate? That's important. And then we want to talk to them. Just leaving messages is not a close. Have you ever closed someone you just left messages with?
No, it's not.
Probably
how that works
not.
At all. I wish I could.
It doesn't work that way with visitors either. So we want to find out how they like to communicate. We follow up in that process. We document it. So we have like this wonderful little golden pot of past visitors. Right. That is a database for us. So when we're looking for a particular category, we can go back and say, hey, this category visited 3 months ago. Let's invite them because we've got somebody we really want to meet. Yep. That's right.
I'm big with that with open houses, or however you want to phrase a big call to action, because at the time people visited, it may have not been a good time. Maybe they were in a job that didn't allow them to get out when they wanted to get out, or the kids were in softball, or my husband was traveling, or whatever, and now may be a better time. So 3, 6, 8 months down the road, times change. Yeah. So don't say, well, they said it wasn't a good time. That could have been a year ago. That's why the database is so important.
Absolutely. And so we track that. I don't personally like setting up Excel documents. I don't personally like getting in there and looking at them. However, I love that database because I can go in, and if you want to grow your business, go in and look at the last year of clients that you did business with 6 months ago. Call them. Familiarity. That's what we do with our visitor database. Familiarity. They've been to Rainmakers. It wasn't a great time, or maybe we didn't have this member that we can connect them now. Darren, who can we bring in? Because part of what we want to do is help our members, and we go back and look at visitors and say, oh, man, that would be a great connection for Darren. Now, Darren, we're working on retention now through our visitor database.
There you go.
So that's the BNI follow-up process. The member follow-up process for visitors is we are bringing visitors in monthly for our members to connect with, not to go sell to. Everybody likes to buy. Nobody wants to be sold to.
Correct. Very good.
So we have our process, and then as a member, if Andy or Darren comes, Robert, I know, is one that's going to call them and say, hey, I want to get to know more about you. Let's have coffee.
Nice.
Every member should be doing that, because connections, and I don't care if they do what you do or not, I get some of my best referrals from people who do exactly what I do. They just do it a little different.
That's right. I just had a conversation with somebody about that. They were going to invite me to their BNI chapter. Now's a great time to visit other chapters, by the way, because you can just zoom in. So they were. She was going to invite me to her chapter, but there was an ADT guy in there. And she said, well, I don't know if I want to invite you because the ADT guy is in there and you're with security systems with Gallagher. And I said, some of my best referrals come from ADT guys.
That's right.
Because we do very similar but different spaces. And I don't think everybody knows that. I don't know enough about your business to say that. I just want to connect with everybody I know. Then you can figure it out.
That's right. You cannot be all things to all people at all times. You have to have business partners out there. And that helps build sticky relationships with your clients, the more people that you know. So from the standpoint of inviting visitors to the Zoom, we've done really well with speed networking lately.
Networking on Zoom.
Oh, yeah. We've had a lot of fun. 3 opportunities to do that. And our members loved it. And our visitors absolutely had a ball. And we're getting applications off of that. So there's lots of opportunity.
Yeah. We need to talk about that speed networking on Zoom. That would be a good idea. All right. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much. It was more fun than I thought it would be, and nobody got hurt.
Well, God bless you, Curtis. I've only known you 20-some-odd years, so we're having fun now.
It shows.
Yeah.
Again, my name is Curtis Johnston with the Knox BNI podcast. I got that backwards again, Andy. It is what it is. I don't know. It's the best I can do. Thank you for being with us, Susan Moser. I appreciate your time, and we will see you guys next time.